So, hello.
Hello.
Welcome, David. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. And
And
yourself?
I'm having a lovely day so far. I'm loving the blue sky, gentle breeze. Looking forward to spending even more time outdoors
Yeah,
and going for an ecstatic dance this evening.
perfect. Me too.
Yay! And thank you so much for joining me on this conversation about consciousness and how we co-create with consciousness in on
Yes.
all levels and in all sorts of ways. And we met through the community connected through ecstatic dance and we're fellow dowsers, which is a lovely connection to have as well.
It
So
is.
and I love your journey, metaphorical and actual physical journey through life.
Yeah.
Would you like to maybe talk a little bit about how you got to here?
How I got to here.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, that's a big story. I'll try and abbreviate.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so as a child, I was very kind of shy, um, not very confident, and I ended up joining the Army Cadets. That introduced me to a very different world. And from that, I ended up joining the army, which is a very male dominated environment.
Yeah.
When I left the army, alcohol was very present in my life, and I changed alcohol for cannabis. And that became a very daily presence in my life.
Mhm.
And I didn't really enjoy not feeling stoned.
Mm.
Um, and whilst at that in that path, or part of my path, I started to become aware of energies and consciousness, and it started to open something up inside me. And my mum taught me the basics of how to dowse. I At the time, I then started to play the didgeridoo, and that opened my mind up to vibration.
Mm.
And from that, I then started to combine that with the dowsing chakras and the didgeridoo and doing sound bars. And that started to open up another part of my mind. Then I got fed up with people and just thought, well, what else can I use dowsing for? And I loved walking. So I would just go walking and dowsing. And I taught myself about earth energies and just started to really tap into what that was all about for me. And I remember going on a journey, and I ended up getting a migraine on this walk, and I came
Mm.
back home, and that was me for 3 days, completely wiped out by this migraine.
Okay.
And a week later, I took my mum on the same walk, and we got to a certain place on the walk, and she was just like, oh, the energy's completely out here.
Mm.
So then she taught me how to clear energies.
Mm.
And what I learned from that was, if I ever started to get a migraine again, I needed to stop, retrace my steps, and find where the energy was out, and then start clearing the energy.
Okay.
The upside of doing all this work with energies was I became more sensitive to the energies. And rather than having to retrace my step, I would get there and go, okay, the energy's out here, clear the energy, and move on.
Mm.
And yeah, through through doing that, I just got really um I really wanted to walk ley lines and clear the energies along ley lines. So I started to do that, and the walks got bigger. I walked the Michael Mary ley line, and then I went to, I set off to go through France to Italy, but went to Santiago de Compostela in Spain. Um, and then the walk after that was then in 2014, and I set off on the walk. And I'll try and keep this short. And basically, I ended up getting lost in a forest in France. I put up my tent, went through a whole range of emotions, and
Yeah.
thought, right, it's time to finally go to Salzburg, which is a whole other story.
Mm.
But I went there expecting to find something of myself
Okay.
and didn't find anything. But when I left, I actually realized that what I was looking for was myself, and I needed to look within.
Mm.
And from that, I then started asking myself a lot of questions. Why was I acting the way that I was acting? Why was I making the same mistakes in life that I had always made? Things like that, and really looking at
Yeah.
my childhood. And that then ended up about a month afterwards in a nervous breakdown, which at the time was difficult, but opened up a whole new path. And from there, I was able to give up cannabis and haven't touched any kind of substances for 9 years. And I then went on another walk. I went on a lot of walks.
Yes.
Went on another walk in 2015 and only went for a week. It was in England, so I felt very safe. I decided that I was going to wild camp because I didn't have a lot of money.
Mm.
And at the end of the third week, I ran out of money and then I ran out of food. I walked for 2 days without food and really started to become aware of my mind and how that I was feeling quite depressed. And actually, I just needed to really push forward into a more positive mind space.
Mm.
And yeah, from that, I then started walking and felt that I should go and visit a Buddhist monastery. And I was heading towards Eastbourne in Sussex on the South Downs Way. And I passed well, I was walking towards some scouts coming down the hill, saying, always look on the bright side of life.
Oh,
They got to a water trough. They were fiddling in their bags, and then we passed each other. And on the trough, they had left a bag of milk chocolate Lucky Stars. So in that kind of 15 minutes, had had this thought about the Buddhist monasteries, then came across these scouts, found these milk chocolate Lucky Stars, and I just thought, wow, okay, this is a really cool day. And I got to the library in Eastbourne and looked for the closest monastery. And it was on
mm.
the other side of Sussex, um, a place called Chithurst Buddhist Monastery. And
Mhm.
on the bottom of their website, they were actually looking for a live-in maintenance man. And I just thought, you know what, that's right up my street.
Mm.
So I applied, and about 10 days later, I was then living in a monastery.
Mm.
And able to practice with the monks as often as I liked. And I'm somebody who likes to grab things with both arms and immerse myself. So I was there morning and evening, chanting and meditating.
Mm.
And yeah, it was a very special year, often very difficult because there was no distractions. So everything that came up, it was there. It was in front of you, and there was no kind of denying that it was there.
Mm.
And on leaving the monastery, I then got a job with an overland tour company as a driver and tour guide, and found myself in South America. And it's like the opposite ends of the scale, Buddhism, nice and relaxed and peaceful, to being a tour guide, always being on the go,
Yeah.
always around people. And it threw up a different set of challenges. And all of a sudden, I realized that I was very unhappy and didn't know how how or what to do about it. And I came across Miguel Ruiz and the Four Agreements, and it just really started to dive into that, and it gave me a different aspect again. And
Can you expand on that a little bit? Because I've not come across Miguel Ruiz in the Four
you're
Agreements.
going to ask me what the Four Agreements are, aren't you? And
More the
honestly,
feeling. Anyone can look this
yeah,
up, right? It's
yeah,
just more
yeah, sure.
what does it kind of what's it about?
For me, it just felt very simplistic. So the simplicity of it just made me feel at ease within
Mm,
myself
mm.
and made me go, okay, one of them is don't take things personally.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
it's a
of
good one.
course,
Right.
when you're around people all the time,
Mm,
there's always other people's stuff.
mm,
And then there's your stuff, and there's like this mix of everybody's stuff,
mm,
whether it's energetically or in any other way. And so to not take things personally, it's something very simple. It's also something quite difficult to practice, but it
mm,
does give you a practice and understanding that, okay, just need to take a step back, take a breath for a moment and understand that where they're coming from is not aimed at you.
mm,
And yeah, like I say, it's more the simplicity that really gave me that kind of flavor of peacefulness
mm,
within my own practice. And one of his students, a guy called Gary Van Warmerdam, he did a lot of stuff around kind of shadow work. So I was very much into listening to his podcast, and he does like some meditations, and I was doing his meditations a lot, and I found that very helpful while I was on the road as well.
mm.
Um, yeah, and from there, I kind of left there and kind of meandered a bit in life, felt a bit lost, was trying to set up businesses using my skills as a dowser and being able to help people,
Mhm.
especially through clearing energies.
Yeah.
And it nothing really kind of worked, and I couldn't really understand why. And this was something that kind of happened over a number of years. And yeah, there's something else that I probably took a bit personally.
More growth
Um,
medicine, I'm sure, you know.
exactly, yeah. Um, yeah, and it's only recently that I've started to understand that all of all of the things that felt like a battle were really just conditioning, childhood conditioning
Mm,
and ancestral conditioning. And to kind of understand that has and work on that on a deeper level has really started to bring things forward. And as we were saying earlier about being relaxed and rather than trying to push our way into creating something, actually relaxing into things and making personal connections. And just like how we're talking now, right?
mm,
Um, and yeah, that it feels more authentic, it feels more genuine. And I think whilst, in society's idea is doing and, to be productive, to create, we need to do. But
mm.
sometimes it's the opposite that is true when you're trying to create from a conscious perspective. So,
That's a
yeah,
very powerful point right there, David.
yeah.
And it's kind of underpinned by, when you stopped in the Buddhist monastery and you felt drawn to find one, it's much more about being. over the doing kind
Yeah.
of way of life.
Yeah.
Um, that that journey within is like precious gold almost.
Yeah.
Um, and the stillness that is there under the waves of all the emotions that sort of swirl around. If you can drop down into that still, quiet inner place,
Yeah.
which is limitless, and into the void, even, some
Yeah.
people call it, where there's a sense of no time,
Yeah.
no space. It just, you cannot describe the feeling of tranquility and surrender there as well. Wow.
Mm.
To relax. I feel that a lot of people in that Western civilization, conditioning kind of state do feel this urge to do and to, you know, keep trucking on.
Yeah.
And it's relentless. It really is. And it can batter our immune system, our nervous system. And then when we do sit stiller and we allow things to come to us a little bit more, it just feels so much lighter and easier
Mm.
and more human friendly, perhaps.
Yeah.
It's like the inner abundance radiating outwards rather than a scarcity sort of mindset where you seek to fix the solutionizing sort
Yeah.
of external sort of so,
True. Yeah.
so how do you find, so you've been on this journey of expansion inwardly
Yeah.
through walking, working, being, opening, experiencing even migraines to sort of help you learn, wow, I need to trace my steps or connect with each step so that I can feel what I feel may benefit from some sort of harmonizing and support. And so it feels like dowsing is part of what you do to help consciousness work through you as the vessel.
Yeah. So for me with dowsing, what it helped me do is connect more with different types of energy. It made me more sensitive. And some
Mm,
people might go, oh no, I don't want to become more sensitive. But as I felt it and I understood it for myself, and everybody's different, it really felt like the more sensitive I could be, the more I could be able to say, okay, this is this kind of energy. Now, either I'm able to do something about it, I'm able to ask for it to be healed,
mm,
or I can't do anything about it. So in that case, what I'm going to do is move away from it. So actually, that sensitivity was very good in kind of protecting myself and
mm,
being able to just really ask for energies and places to be healed. I've felt very drawn to work with the archangels,
mm,
and I always ask for energies to be healed through them.
mm.
That way, for me, it felt like a non-egoic way of being able to do it, because if it wasn't the right thing to happen, it wouldn't happen.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was very, yeah, it just felt very necessary to be able to have that kind of almost like a safety switch. Um, it's not my choice, but I can ask for it to be healed. So
Mm. Mm. Yeah, for the
um,
highest intention there,
yeah,
after that, then that egoic, I need to
yeah,
fix this.
yes, yeah, yeah, and it also means as well that it's not going through you.
Mm.
Um, the energy doesn't have to go through you for it to work. It it works because you've asked for it to be healed. And it's very interesting. It's something that you can feel happen, but like I say, it's not necessarily having to go through you, and it's not necessarily having to drain your energies or draw on your energies in any way. So I think that,
That's a key point as well, because
yeah,
historically dowsers who have been called to, let's say, fix problems, problem energy lines running through homes or that kind of thing, they they haven't always either done or focused enough on energy hygiene for themselves.
yeah,
And some of them have had much shorter lives than maybe they could have, due to extended time periods on places where there's geomagnetic interference or geopathic stress, or
yeah,
something that is harmful to the body. And there are different degrees, right? So, and that's not coming from a fear place. It's more in a sort of awareness place that it doesn't have to be through me, myself, and I,
yeah,
in order for it to be transmuted.
yeah, for sure.
Um, Brilliant.
Yeah,
And and I've seen some of your creative work as well. So as well as playing the didgeridoo and working with singing bowls and sound, you also you capture beautiful images with your camera, and you make things that you feel drawn to make.
yeah.
Um, how does consciousness and that creative process play through you when you are in that creative space there?
Yeah. So I kind of think that this is like the next kind of stage on from dowsing.
Mm,
And actually, you know, there is an intuitive side to dowsing. It's very, for me, it's always been very intuitive.
mm,
And more and more this happens that I can see a space before I've even got there, and I can see the energies there before I've even gone there.
mm,
And it's the same for me with creating something. Quite often, I've already envisaged the photo before the opportunity has arisen. And yeah, which way around does it happen? Does it happen because I've been consciously creating it, or has it happened that I knew it was going to happen? Or so yeah, it's very interesting. And the same with when I create things out of wood, or that's kind of the same. I've already envisaged what it looks like, and it's almost as though the image of it pops into my head and just sits there and just sits there, and it's like, okay, it's there. I can see it. Let's go and create it. And
mm,
even this morning, I was out in my garden. I've got a big weeping willow in my garden, and the infinity symbol is something that I found very, um, I don't know the right word to describe it. I just feel a real affinity to it.
mm,
Um, and I've been kind of feeling like I needed to weave an infinity symbol, um, and hang it on the weeping willow tree. And so I actually got some willow branches, and I made this infinity weeping willow to hang in the tree. And when you look at a tree is that kind of infinity. It's not only growing, but it's also dying. And
mm,
when it dies, it's actually feeding itself.
mm,
When you look at the leaves on the ground, and you look at the branches on the ground, that's all food for the tree, and it takes time for it to nourish itself. But
mm,
actually, that death of itself is actually rebirth in itself. So it's a very magical, infinite microcosm of a being. Uh, yeah, right there in my garden, just a constant reminder.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful. And when you're talking about that, it reminds me of the infinity sign. And it's that inflection point, isn't it, where it twists and turns. It's like that expansion and contraction of the growth cycle.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
And it reminds me also of the analogy of going from becoming a girl through to a woman, through to an elder. And it talks about how, as a girl, we're the bud of the flower. And then as a young woman, we start to open up the flower. And then when we give birth, it's the fruit stage.
Yeah.
And then after the fruit stage, it becomes the seed.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the seed contains all the wisdom, knowledge, and patterns
Mm.
that is needed for the new bud. So it's just a lovely cycle.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love the infinity sign.
Mm.
I would use it if I'm doing my energy hygiene exercises in the morning, drawing down the energy, pushing out to the edge of my aura. And then after three or so times, just drawing the infinity sign and drawing it up, down, and spinning it around. It feels like a really nourishing sort of affirmation kind of feeling to
Right.
sort of prime the aura to be tip top shiny and infinite.
Yes. Infinite auras are always good.
Yeah. Yeah. And also with the when I'm working with sound essences, I was gifted on a labyrinth walk I was doing. I was gifted this beautiful feather on my path.
Yeah.
And when I'm using my sound essences, so I'll mist, and then I feel guided to just draw the infinity sign over the person
Yeah.
or the situation I'm misting to emphasize, if you like, and anchor.
Yeah.
It feels like a powerful symbol to use, as well
Yeah.
as beautiful flower of life. Oops.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. So
Kind of mesmerizing in the background.
yeah, and it's funny because I've always been drawn to the flower of life and to labyrinths, and I couldn't even explain why. I just am,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter. I just am, and
Yeah.
the more I expand into it, the more I uncover on this journey of delight through life, and the deeper the connection, because the flower of life is at the center of a labyrinth. Every labyrinth starts with the seed of life, if you like,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
patterns of sacred geometry go through life, of all life. So it just feels like a very special connection to be playing with, if you like, in the most honored way. Um, Sacred shapes, spaces, pathways, journeys to within.
Yeah.
It's a real honor and privilege to feel connected with these inspirational sort of feelings, and they run at every level, don't they? There's sort of very high levels of consciousness sometimes, you can be connecting
Yeah.
with through
It
these shapes and
it's
design.
kind of I did a did went to the Soul Barns and did some mantra meditation, and I had a sound bath last night. And when you're doing mantras, there's there's everybody that's gone before you that has used that mantra. You're tapping into that same energy, and that's very powerful, very powerful. And it's the same with these symbols. These symbols have been used forever, and yeah, you're just tapping into that same energy, and yeah, it's so multi-layered. Yeah, it's really amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And while you've been saying that, And you're talking about all of those who have gone before using that. I'm just wondering, sitting here right now, feeling how you're feeling, knowing what you know internally, and the wisdom that you can draw down and through you. What would you want to say to younger David?
Hmm. Yes. Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Um, I think younger David kind of needed a lot of reassurance.
Mm,
Um, and to know that actually, no matter what was going on around him, he was always a good boy.
mm,
Something that has come up quite a lot was about feeling as though I was in the wrong.
mm,
Um, so yeah, actually that was other people's stuff. That was never my stuff.
mm.
Um, do you want me to expand on that a little bit?
If you feel called to.
Yeah, I can. So yeah, very often I would feel very tired after school.
Mm,
Um, but my mum always felt that I should eat first and then go to sleep rather than go to sleep and then eat. No, and it's little things like that. Just you then get forced down a path that's not natural for you. And
mm,
it's very interesting now. I work outside a lot, and when I come in for lunch, I will check whether I need to have a little nap first or eat first
mm.
and then have a nap. I get up at crazy o'clock in the morning, so naps are a definite, really good part of my day, and it's
Yeah.
only 15, 20 minutes.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, definitely that feeling of reassurance and yeah, needing to know that everything that he was doing was completely right. So yeah.
that's beautiful.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you. And so you've got some stuff coming up, haven't you? You're based in the Wiltshire area.
Yes, near
Um,
Avebury.
yeah,
Yeah.
magical,
Oh, it's such an
amazing
amazing
place.
place.
Shall we
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that and the energies there? Because, I think it lights us both up, doesn't it? That
Yes.
energy there.
Yeah, there's always something amazing about Avebury. I go there once a week, at least once a week.
Mm,
But I go there once a week for yoga. And just the other night, I was there early because I wanted to go and fill up with fuel on the way. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna walk around the stones. There's a photograph that I've kind of seen that I want to take. And as the cars drive through, it was dark. So the lights were lighting up one of the stones and the trees behind it. And so yeah, I was creeping around in the darkness with my camera at the ready, trying to take photos of the trees and them being painted with light. And yeah, it's just one of those places where I feel drawn to quite often sit and be. And when I do, I feel so much more connected to the land and will quite often be given reassurance, or I will have something reflected to me that perhaps I'm not paying attention to. It's that kind of place, it's yeah. I think the other thing that is really beautiful about it is you can go there any time of day,
mm,
and it's not unusual to see groups of people meditating or to see people by themselves meditating or doing some sort of group work. It's it's a normal place for that to happen, and it's a free place for that to happen.
yes.
And that is just amazing in itself. So yeah, it's such an amazing place. I love going there after a night's wild camping for
Mm.
sunrise and just go and meditate. That's my ultimate. Avebury experience. So
Oh,
yeah,
oh, that's so lovely.
yeah.
And so, and you teach dowsing, you introduce people to dowsing in Avebury, don't you?
Yes, yeah. So there's a shop called the Hen Shop, and they have classrooms, and I'm actually teaching there on March the 10th. So yeah, it's I've tried many, many different ways of teaching, and I've kind of refined it down and can really help people understand which energies they connect with most. And through doing that, actually guide them to work with those energies, which then makes them more sensitive to other energies and yeah, opens them up to the other energies. So yeah, it's a really, really amazing way to teach people. And I really enjoy it. It's a real passion.
That's beautiful. And that reminds me when you're saying that we each have our own note, like of our soul song, even a chord that we play, and we
Yeah.
have our own light. So, the kaleidoscopic light, I feel at the eighth chakra level, just, what's our unique blend of colors and light that
Yeah.
we shine forth. And when we do turn and expand into dowsing, working with either earth energy or the body energy field or finding water or uh,
Ghosts.
yeah, the sort of, the stock energies that haven't moved on and need some light guidance, just find home
Yeah.
again. Um, it we can be drawn naturally to a particular aspect.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, it can be the doorway to expand more into noticing other energies. And yeah, I love working with the earth energy. That's probably my first love,
Yeah.
of all. Um, it's like having an infinite conversation with nature.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going to come up next as a topic.
You don't.
And
I feel like I'm still learning about earth energies and been playing with them for so many years, but still learning. Still
yeah,
learning.
yeah, absolutely. And there's so many different types of energy lines. And there's again for the sort of for those among us who like sort of science approaches with classifications, there are so many sort of scores and ways of measuring different energies, and it depends on the cycle of the moon, where the planets are. There's so many influences or attributes that can be coming into contemplation and expansion
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, it is a limitless field, like the field of consciousness. So
Yeah.
yeah, and you've been invited to talk with the Wiltshire Dowsers soon. Is that right?
Yes, so the Wiltshire Dowsing Society, they meet in Royal Wootton Bassett, and I'm going to be talking on the 19th of March. The talk's titled Ghosts, Ley Lines, and Intuition. So yes, it's I'm going to talk. I didn't really talk about Nicaragua today, but going to tap into kind of my journey in Nicaragua, which was I've I kind of nicknamed it the land of the ghosts. It's although I was working a lot with ghost energies and helping clear ghosts before Nicaragua. Nicaragua seemed to have a lot of ghosts in the area that I was in the south.
Hmm.
And I still don't really know why that was. Um, but yeah, it made me learn. I actually learned a lot from being in Nicaragua. So yeah, it's a very, very special place. So we'll definitely talk in more depth about that with the Wiltshire Dowsing Society.
Yes. Oh, that sounds marvelous. And thank you so, so much for joining me today on this conversation. It's
Well,
been wonderful to hear your story.
yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alex, for inviting me.